I bear witness that there is no deity but God, the One, having no partner with him.
It was his words which united the whole of divided Arabia. Within 1 century, the abode of Islam stretched its one arm to India and the borders of China, and another arm to France and the shores of the Atlantic.
Today, the Islamic world reaches into the Pacific, far into Central Asia, and deep into Africa. 1/7 of the world's population is Muslim. It is the youngest of the major religions and the fastest growing. Islam means submission, and Muslims are those who submit themselves to the will of God. Only 1/4 of all Muslims are Arabs. Since the very beginning, it has been a universal religion.
There is no superiority for an Arab over a non-Arab, and for a non-Arab over an Arab, nor for the white over the black, nor the black over the white, except in awareness of God.
For 1,000 years, Islam was the most widespread and powerful civilization in the world, and it is the link between the present day and the civilizations of the ancient world. The huge spiral minarets at Samarra in Iraq echo the ziggurats, the ancient towers of Babylon, which preceded them. The walls of the mosque give some idea of the power which was once centered here. Samarra was built more than 1,000 years ago as a royal city, from which the Abbasid caliphs ruled an immense empire. It was the climax of Arab power. The palaces and gardens, the baths and schools and fortifications have vanished. Only the vast mosque, like the bedrock of the civilization itself, survives. Arab power declined, but the civilization they had founded did not. Only 300 years ago, the armies of the Ottoman Turks were the most redoubtable in the world. In Istanbul, the military band of the Janissaries can still be seen. It is the origin of the military bands we now know. Only 300 years ago, Islamic civilization flowered in Iran to produce one of the most brilliant and exquisite moments in human history. And much less than 300 years ago, large areas of East and West Africa were flourishing Islamic states with centuries of civilization behind them. Much of the Islamic world now seems little more than an extension of the modern world. And indeed, there are some within the Islamic world itself who wish to see it in that way. This is the way vast numbers of good Muslims now live. But it is not the unique civilization which grew out of Islam. Once beautiful cities like Damascus strain under the huge influx of machinery and numbers. The modern world cuts its way through another way of life. And yet, Islamic civilization retains a remarkable vitality. In Pakistan, even the scooter taxis and the lorries from the West are being absorbed, just as Islam once absorbed the ziggurats of Babylon. Islam remains vital for many millions of people. The men who work on these lorries feel the need to relate them to their own lives, to make them meaningful instead of alien, to draw them into a pattern which retains all its meaning for them. However great the material achievements, they are not the purpose of a traditional civilization such as Islam. They are its byproducts. Its purpose is man himself.
Man has come into the world for a particular task, and that is his purpose. If he does not perform it, then he will have done nothing.
Five times a day, the entire world of Islam turns towards a single center, Mecca. Once in a lifetime, those who can make the physical journey to this center by plane or ship or bus over the desert. In the past, a pilgrim might walk for months from as far away as Morocco or India to reach the land where that revelation, which is the heart of Islam, was given.
Truth has come, and error has vanished away.
For Muslims, the Koran, the holy book of Islam, is a direct revelation, the word of God. The Quran was revealed to the Prophet, Muhammad, who is buried beneath the green dome at Medina, some miles from Mecca. Muslims regard the Prophet with the deepest love and gratitude, but he has always remained for them a man and mortal. The pilgrimage is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, but it is far, far older. Muslims say it was founded by Abraham, and Mecca is the city of Abraham.
A manifest miracle is this safe city of Mecca, which can contain this vast host, a host such that were it brought into the greatest of cities could not be contained. It is described only by the true analogy of the ulama, that its enlargement for newcomers is like that of a womb for the growing child.
The center of the world. For Muslims, the great cube of the Kaaba, in the center of the sanctuary at Mecca, is the axis on which the whole world turns, because it is the ancient symbol of the intersection between the vertical of the spirit and the horizontal plane of worldly existence.
The Kaaba is an outward symbol in this material world of that divine presence not seen by the eye.
This is the object of the pilgrimage. Nothing is contained in the Kaaba. It is the symbol of the journey which every man must make to find his own center.
The pilgrimage is a prefiguration of the inward journey towards the Kaaba of the heart.
Each pilgrim circles the Kaaba 7 times. Those who are too weak are carried. The Kaaba is a cube, a symbol of stability, because truth never changes. Islam does not deny earlier revelations, but confirms them and gives them final form.
The divine truth has been revealed through the mediation of the prophets or the messengers at very different times to the most diverse peoples. The Koran is but the final confirmation, the seal of all these numerous revelations, the sequence of which goes back to Adam.
This stone outside Mecca represents Iblis, the arch enemy of man. Every pilgrim throws 7 pebbles at it and rejects the evil tendencies within himself. Unity and submission to the will of God are the central ideas of Islam. Unity both in the inner and in the outer life of human beings. Islam guides the whole life of men. There is no aspect which is not brought within the religion. It is the message of unity which echoes round the world. Islamic civilization inherited what have always been regarded as the central regions of the world. Just as Islam is the link between the ancient civilizations of the Middle East and the present day, so also it was the great bridge between East and West. Today, few caravans are left. Here, on the northern edge of the Sahara, is one of the few places they can still be found. The great caravan routes spreading across the Islamic world continued and extended the trading pattern of antiquity. They linked China and India on the one hand to Africa and Europe on the other. Across the highlands of Asia, along routes which today can be traveled only with great difficulty, huge quantities of precious goods passed regularly. Along these routes, at intervals of a day's journey, lay the Caravanserais. This one at Sarax, on the border of Iran and the Soviet Union, was on the greatest trade route in the world, the Silk Route, extending from China to the Mediterranean. Here the caravans would rest, business would be done, prayers would be offered. Rulers established whole chains of caravanserais across their lands. Huge vaulted halls gave protection from the harsh winters of Asia. Ideas too traveled on these routes. In this way, Islam spread beyond the Sahara and deep into Africa. During the Abbasid Empire, the Arabs made regular sea voyages to China, the longest regular sea route ever used by mankind before the European expansion of the 16th century. Dubai and other ports of the Arabian coast have a seafaring tradition at the very least 1,000 years old, and are still crowded with dhows which make their way under sail to India and East Africa. The Indian Ocean was for many centuries an area without major conflicts, a Muslim sea, and the site of great merchant voyages.
I left Siraf in the year 306 of the Islamic calendar in a ship bound for Seymour. With us was a ship of Abdallah ibn il-Junayd and a ship from Saba. These three ships were extremely large and well known on the sea, with famous shipmasters of high repute and standing among seamen. Aboard the ships there were 1,200 men, merchants, shipmasters, sailors and others of diverse nationalities. The cargo of wealth and merchandise was of incalculable value. After 11 days sailing, we saw the outlines of the mountains and the features of the land of Sindar, Antana and Seymour.
A network of Islamic sea routes spread all round the Indian Ocean. New regions were drawn into the pattern of world trade. A chain of flourishing towns was established all down the east coast of Africa, 500 years before the Portuguese arrived and destroyed them. And it was in the wake of trade, not conquest, that Islam spread to Indonesia, today the most populous Muslim country in the world. Ironically, it was the great Muslim navigator Ibn Majid who piloted Vasco da Gama from East Africa to India, and so brought about the ruin of Arab commerce. With the change in trade routes which followed the arrival of Europeans in the Indian Ocean, the economic decline of Arabia and eventually of the whole Islamic world set in. The sap was drained from an entire economic system. Mocha, in southern Arabia, was once a flourishing port, and in parts of the world its name is synonymous with coffee. It has been completely bypassed. Forts of India and the great walls of the old city of Cairo stand as reminders of the military might of Islamic civilization. Islam legislates for all aspects of life, for life as human beings actually encounter it, and it has not evaded the question of warfare. The guidelines it sets down are clear.
Be just. The unjust never prosper. Be valiant. Die rather than yield. Be merciful. Slay neither old men, children, nor women. Keep your word, even to your enemies.
Let there be no compulsion in religion.
The military band of the Janissaries still exists in Turkey. It could reduce foes to surrender even before battle was joined. The armies of Europe hastened to copy it. Brought up in a special educational system, completely detached from personal background, but linked to one of the great mystical orders of Islam, with the highest posts in the empire open to them, the Janissaries formed a unique and totally dedicated military force.
Allah Allah! Celilü Cebbar, Mu'inü Settar, Halikul Leyli ben Nehar. La yezal, Zülcelal, birdir Allah, anın birliğine. Resulü Enbiya, Peygamberimiz Cenab-ı Ahmed-i Mahmud-u Muhammed Mustafa. Ali evladı Resulü Müşteba imdad-ı ruhaniyetine, bil cümle alim İslam'ın sıhhatü selametine, aziz ümmetimizin baka temadisine, ordularımızın devamı muzafferiyetine, üçler, yediler, kırklar göçenler demine devranına hu diyelim. Hu! Nasrun minallahi ve fethü karib ve beşşiril müminin ya Muhammed.
When Mehmet II, the conqueror of Istanbul and one of the greatest Turkish military commanders, had his portrait painted, it was in a characteristically Islamic pose, gently sniffing the scent of a blossom. Babur, another great military leader and the founder of the Mughal dynasty in India, personally supervised the laying out of Islamic gardens wherever he went in India. Very probably he was their architect too. His descendant, the Emperor Akbar, wrote,
"The sole idea of wise kings is day by day to refresh the garden of the world by the streams of justice. And when an empire has been civilized by a wise and just ruler, the people thereof, small as well as great, sit in the shade of tranquility."
The traditional Islamic house is built around a garden, a private and tranquil inner world. Such gardens are conscious anticipations of the paradise which Muslims believe is man's true home. The veiling of a woman has the same meaning. She too is an inner paradise, precious.
A laugh revealing pearls, a face beautiful as the moon. Time is too narrow to contain it, but my heart does so.
This dance is based on a famous incident at the Mughal court of India.
Anarkali loved the Prince Salim. One day she saw the prince approaching, and she danced for him.
Islam gave rise to one of the greatest civilizations the world has seen, to a vast network of trade, powerful armies, glittering courts. But like all true civilizations, its real empire was, and is still, in the hearts of men. A Muslim must perform ritual ablutions before he prays. Sometimes water cannot be found, and he uses a stone or sand instead. Nothing is missed out. Every act prescribed by the Prophet is faithfully performed. Such a man is aware of the importance of his acts. There is nothing he does that does not count. He has human dignity. It is on this dignity that civilizations are built.
Adore God as if you see him. And if you do not see him, he nonetheless sees you.